Well, dear students, today we shall take on the next topic, that is phylum Coelenterata, also called as Cnidaria. We shall discuss salient features of phylum Coelenterata. All coelentrates are aquatic. Some are freshwater, but most of them, maximum of them, are marine. They are solitary as well as colonial. I think you understand what is solitary and colonial. We have discussed it in protozoa as well as in the five kingdom classification. Solitary means which lives alone. Colony means when so many individuals lives together. They may be sedentary, they may remain attached with the substratum, or they may be free swimming. Symmetry is radial or biradial about a longitudinal oral aboral axis. Their body is a little bit elongated, and on one end of this elongated structure you have a oral aperture, and the end opposite to the oral aperture, opposite to the end which is having mouth, is called aboral. So if biradial symmetry is there or the radial symmetry is there, it is always from oral to aboral. So when you cut across from oral to aboral, uh, either they may be divided by means of only two radii, so biradial, or so many radii, that is called radial symmetry. Body organizations of cell tissue grade. So it means sometimes tissues are there which are performing certain specific functions, sometimes tissues are not there. Cell tissue grade, both the things are present there. Tissues like nerve net or nervous system. There is an example of a tissue like nerve net or nervous system is a type when so many cells are together performing the function of a tissue. Skeleton, either exoskeleton, either the skeleton is present outside the body or within the body. If it is exoskeleton, it may be a chitinous made up of a chitin protein called the perisarc, or sometimes formed of the calcium carbonate, that is the calcareous. And this is the example of the corals. In If you remember that the corals are present along the seashore, which are made up of mostly the coelentrates. So that is basically the exoskeleton of the coelentrates. They are diploblastic, made up of their body is made up of two layers, ectoderm and endoderm. You can see over here in this picture. Uh, this is the gastroderm is called the endoderm, and then you are having the outer epidermis, which you can compare it with the ectoderm, and both of them are cemented together. They are not far apart from each other, and the layer which cement them is called the mesoglia. They are acoelomate. You can find that this is the endoderm, this is the ectoderm. There is no space present between these two layers. So the organism which don't have the coelom, which don't have the cavity, they're called as acoelomate animals. They have a single cavity lined by gastroderm. No, inside it you can see there is a cavity which is lined by the gastroderm, because the gastroderm cells are lined around it. This is called as gastrovascular cavity, also called as coelentron. Mouth opens into the coelentron, and anus is absent. There is no anus. You cannot find any more opening of this gastrovascular cavity anywhere. No, uh, that no, you must remember it that this gastrovascular cavity is not the coelom. It is not the body cavity. Body cavity always lies between the wall of uh, the gastrovascular cavity, between the wall of the gastrovascular cavity and the outermost body wall, or you can say between the uh, wall of the intestine in multicellular organisms like in our case, or the higher animals, higher vertebrates, and the body wall. So if the cavity is lying somewhere here, it may be called the cylindron. Sorry, it may be called the coelom, but the cavity of the digestive system can never be considered as a coelom. So these animals are acoelomate. Most of the individual exhibit polymorphism. You can see this is an example of obelia. Obelia is a cylindron. Now, at this point of time, you can see up to this, it is attached with the substratum and it is growing like a tree, giving various branches. During this mode of life cycle, they always perform the asexual mode of reproduction. So, this attached form, which remain attached with the substratum and perform the asexual mode of reproduction, is called polyp. This is the polyp form. And there is another form. This is the free swimming form, which is not attached to the substratum. And during this process, you can see the sperm is released from this individual, ovum is released from this individual. It means these individuals are performing the sexual reproduction. So, sexual stage of life cycle or the sexual reproduction performing the individuals are always free swimming and they are called the medusa. So, alternation of generation is also exhibited in these individuals, that in the life cycle they alternate between polyps and medusae. Or you can say there's a polymorphism. They show different body forms during different stages of life cycle. This is the polyp form and this is the medusa form. Respiratory, circulatory, and excretory system is still not developed in these individuals. Muscular systems includes longitudinal and circular fibers formed by epithelial muscles and endothelial muscles. So you may have the muscles with the endothelium, you may have the muscles with the epithelium. They are usually carnivorous. All coelentrates are usually carnivorous. Digestion is extracellular because it takes place within the gastrovascular cavity, sometimes intracellular also. They are short, they have short, round tentacles surrounding the mouth in one hole or more hole. You can see this is the mouth, then the short tentacles, elongated tentacles are present around the mouth. This picture is showing one hole, only one circle of the tentacle. Sometimes few individuals are there in which many holes of tentacles are there. One circle of hole tentacles around the mouth, then surrounded by another one, then surrounded by another one. So these tentacles they bear nematocyst. So you can see these are the cells which are called the nematocyst. So nematocyst, if you look at in the enlarged diagram, you can see nematocyst cell has a tubule inside it and a trigger. Trigger is a sensory part. When anything touches it, if the animal, if this coelenterate wants to take it as a prey, it will immediately uh, through this trigger will receive the message and this tubule will be thrown out. It will wrap around the prey and the prey will be taken inside. So it means the nematocyst along with this tentacle, they are the organs of offense, they are organs of defense. In addition to this, they also helps in the food capturing and putting them into the mouth. They do have the sensory organs in the form of statocyst. A statocyst is having this type of structure. You can see that there is a cellular layer called the epithelial layer of the statocyst. Some of the Cells of the epithelium are sensory in nature. They are called the sensory cells. They enclose a cavity inside them. This cavity is always fluid-filled cavity. In this fluid-filled cavity is suspended a cell called as lithocyte. In this lithocyte, there is a movable calcium carbonate particle which is called as statolith or otolith. Statolith and otolith remain attached with the processes from the sensory cells. So, because it is in a suspended manner inside this cavity, which is fluid filled, if the organism will uh, will have if the body of the organism will be inclined to this portion, this statolith will will move in this direction, and the sensory cells or the processes of the sensory cell will feel that in order to maintain the balance, organism has to revert back. So this is type of sensory system is called the statocyst or ocelli. Then nervous system is very primitive type of nervous system is there, consisting of nerves located in ectoderm as well as endoderm. Central nervous system is lacking. They don't have the brain or spinal cord like features. Reproduction is both sexual and asexual. Asexual reproduction is by budding and fission. That is, a bud may be formed which will get detached from the body and will grow into individual. Or sometimes the individual may divide by fission. Sexual reproduction takes place by formation of gametes, as I have shown you in the previous diagram that the medusae were producing the ova as well as the sperm. Sexual form are monoecious, that is, they are hermaphrodite or dioecious. Either both the sexes are present within the same individual, or dioecious, that is, both the sexes may not be present within the same individual. Their development is indirect by involving the free swimming ciliated larva called the planula larva. Then there is a well known process among the coelentrates called the metagenesis. Life history illustrates a regular alternation of generation between sexual polypid and asexual polypid and sexual medusoid stage. This alternation of generation between asexual and sexual phase is called as metagenesis in case of the coelentrates. Thanks. This is all about the salient feature of the phylum Coelenterata.